Have you ever thought about teaching in the United States, but you're not sure even if it's possible? Maybe you've seen other teachers sharing their experiences online and you have started to wonder, could I do that too? Perhaps you have already been applying to teaching jobs in the United States, but you feel like you're not making any progress. Well, let me just tell you this, you're not alone. Every year, thousands of international teachers apply for positions in America, but most of them make the same mistakes. Mistakes that cost them time, money, and in many cases, their chance to achieve their dream. Before you dive into applications, there are some very important things that you need to know. Many teachers, especially in the beginning of their journey, they make the same mistakes. And these mistakes cost them energy, it costs them time, and sometimes even their chance to move forward. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the top 5 mistakes international teachers make when applying to teach in the USA. I'll give you some practical tips to avoid them. And by the way, these are the same mistakes I see again and again from teachers who message me on Instagram or email me asking for help. So grab a notebook because this video could save you months of frustration and lots of money. Trust me, let's dive in. The first mistake is applying for teaching jobs randomly online on LinkedIn, Google, Indeed, or general job boards. Here's the problem. Most of those schools don't even consider international teachers. They either don't have the budget for visas, they don't know how the process works, they have never sponsored teachers before, or perhaps they're just not willing to sponsor teachers from other countries at all. When I first started, I used to see teaching positions and I would get excited about that. When I saw an opening for an international teacher position, and I would spend hours filling out applications, sending out my resume. But the truth? Most of those schools probably never even looked at my resume. And here's why that matters. Every rejection, every unanswered email, it takes away your confidence. It makes you doubt your qualifications. And when really the problem is not you, it's the fact that you're applying to the wrong places. So a tip we have for you is this. Don't apply anywhere. Apply smarter. Focus on schools and organizations that have already sponsored visas in the past. That's why in our mentorship, Teaching in America, we give you 2 ready-to-use databases. One, it's a spreadsheet, simple to use, with all of the authorized J1 sponsors by the USA government. We have done a lot of research, so you don't have to spend hours of research. We have spent hours of research looking into every single J1 sponsor that is authorized by the USA government to provide J1 visa sponsorship. We have gone through their websites, we've read their requirements, and we categorized all of the sponsors into free sponsors, paid sponsors, and school-based sponsors. We have also included information such as what kind of nationalities those sponsors work with, what kind of costs they might have. The spreadsheet is simple, easy to use, and you can filter sponsors based on different categories and based on different characteristics. The other database that we have available in our mentorship platform is a list with hundreds of schools that have sponsored H-1B visas before in recent years. We have gone directly through government records and publicly available records, which is also something we teach you how to do in our mentorship, so you also feel like you're in control of the process and you don't have to trust us 100%. We teach you how to do the research, but to make things easier for you, we have already done all the research that you will need. Honestly, creating this was very time consuming and we constantly update it so you have the most accurate information possible. In this spreadsheet, you can find sponsors based on state. You can find out how many H-1B visas they have sponsored in the past year or 2. And when you access this resource, you're able to find job positions directly on schools' websites and target your application. Not only saving you time and frustration, but also increasing your chances of being hired as a teacher in the US. If you want access to this resource, sign up by clicking the link in the description of this video. The second mistake is sending your home country resume instead of preparing one in the American format. I've seen multiple resumes from teachers with photos, marital status, are they married, are they single, how many kids they have, even their religion on the page sometimes. In the United States, this is actually unprofessional. Schools here care about your experience, your skills, your results, not your personal life. In some countries, for example, it is normal to provide your age in your resume, whereas this looks unprofessional in the US and they're not caring about that. Another fact about the J1 or the H1B visa processes is that there's no age limit, and schools will honestly not ask you how old you are, so don't include that information in your resume. I have also seen resumes with multiple pages, weird formatting, lots of irrelevant information, overly generic resumes with inaccurate contact information. No principal in the US will read your resume if it's not formatted properly or with a lot of information that is not relevant to what they're looking for. They might even open your resume, but they're not going to think that you're a strong candidate. You should focus on your achievements in the classroom, your skills, your experience, and demonstrate how you are qualified for that specific position. Why this matters is this is often your first impression. If it doesn't look American or if they cannot really find the information they're looking for in your resume, schools might reject you, even before considering your application. So a tip we have for you is keep it short, 1 to 2 pages maximum. Use action verbs, highlight measurable achievements like student growth, exam pass rates, or successful projects. However, I understand you might be thinking, I have no idea what the right resume style is for American skills. I don't know what the most important information is that I should provide. I don't know how to properly organize my resume in a style that will make my application stand out and therefore increase my chances of becoming a teacher in the US. And we have the solution for that. We have a dedicated module inside our mentorship which focuses exclusively on understanding the American interview process. In this module, you can even download resume templates that are already tailored to the American style. We have lessons walking you through not only how to fill out your resume, but also how to prepare yourself for the interviews and how to make your application stand out. If you want to access those resources, sign up by clicking on the link in the description of this video. The third big mistake many international teachers make is not doing enough research about the school or position they are applying for, including the salary. Okay, so this is very different from how things work in many countries. In the US, most job postings, not only in schools, but across the business world in general, include very detailed descriptions of the role. You usually find all the responsibilities, the exact qualifications that are required, the type of students you will work with, and sometimes even the exact grade, levels, or subject that you will be teaching. So if you don't carefully read this information, you will likely show up to the interview unprepared. You won't be able to highlight the specific skills and qualities that the school is looking for. And trust me, principals can tell when a teacher doesn't do their homework, just like we can tell when a student hasn't done their homework. Many teachers apply for positions without really checking the description. Then, during the interview, when the principal asks questions such as, how would you handle this grade level? Or what experience do you have with this subject? Or questions that are even more specific to your role, the role you are applying for. Teachers freeze, they don't know how to answer that question correctly, they haven't practiced their answers based on the qualifications that that position requires. They perhaps didn't know that that was part of the job that they are applying for. So this honestly creates a bad impression and often costs them the opportunity. Good preparation is key. Now let's also talk about salary. This is another area where international teachers often get caught off guard. In many countries, schools are not very transparent about pay. Sometimes you don't even know what the salary will be until after you've been offered the job. But in the United States, this is completely the opposite. Teacher salaries are generally public information, especially in public schools where districts are commonly legally required to publish salary schedules. Private and charter schools often also follow this trend, and they also normally share their salary ranges as well. So you can actually know in advance before you go to the interview exactly what they pay. And many teachers don't look this up. Maybe they just don't know how to look this up and they go into the interview with no idea of what their salary will be. Imagine finishing an interview and being surprised later by a salary that didn't really match your expectations. That can be stressful. And it could have been avoided with some simple research. But there's also a challenge. Many international teachers don't know how to read a US salary schedule or even how to look up salary schedules. For example, you might see a range like 40,000 to 90,000, but where do you fall in that range? That depends on factors such as your years of experience and your education level. That's why one of the things we teach in our mentorship is how to research school salaries, how to read a salary schedule, and how to figure out what you would realistically earn before even stepping into the interview. So remember, researching the position and not checking the salary information is a mistake you cannot afford to make. Mistake number 4 is a very common one. Applying for jobs without first getting a foreign credential evaluation or FCE. Here's why this matters. Many teachers think they can just attach their resume or diploma from their home countries and then start applying. But in the US, schools and sponsors need an official document that validates your education and teaching credentials from overseas. And that's essentially what the FCE does. The Foreign Credential Evaluation is prepared by an authorized agency, and it provides a detailed analysis of your academic background. It breaks down the courses you took in college, the degree you earned, the number of credit hours, your teaching practice, your internships, and then it translates that into the American system, showing how your degree compares to a US bachelor's or master's degree. This is important because it proves that you meet the requirements to teach in your home country and that your qualifications are recognized as equivalent to those required to teach in the US. Without this, schools can't really move forward with you. There are teachers who skip this step and start applying to schools or even sponsors without the FCE. What happens? Delays. Sometimes schools will tell them, "We would love to consider you, but we need your credential evaluation first." And here's the problem. The FCE can take time. Depending on the agency, it might take 1 to 2 months, sometimes even longer. Many schools don't have that much time to wait, especially if they are in a rush to fill a teaching position. That's why getting the FCE early is absolutely essential. It should be one of the first steps in your process, because once you have it, you can use it for every application, whether you're applying directly to schools, to sponsors, or even to the H-1B process. Now, here's another detail that many teachers don't realize. It cannot just be any evaluation. The FCE must come from an approved agency. Only certain agencies are authorized to issue evaluations that US schools and visa sponsors will accept. If you get one from the wrong place, it could be a waste of time and money. That's why inside our mentorship, we have full lessons dedicated to this topic. We give you a complete list of agencies that are approved and recognized by schools, J1 sponsors, and H1B sponsors. We teach you how to compare costs, timelines, services, so you don't overspend and waste your money. Sometimes schools and sponsors will recommend you just one agency, but what they don't tell you is that you actually have other options. With the right information, you can save a lot of money and get your FCE faster and cheaper. If you want to know which agencies provide this service for you, sign up for our mentorship. Don't worry, these agencies are not paying us anything to give you their names. All the information provided in our mentorship comes from official, publicly available sources. And we actually teach you how to find this information by yourself. What we do is simply compile all that information and provide it to you in a single, organized, accessible way. So mistake number 4, don't apply for jobs without first securing your foreign credential evaluation. Make this one of your very first steps, and you will save yourself from unnecessary delays and missed opportunities. Last but not least, mistake number 5 is not planning yourself financially. Now, this one is critical. Many teachers get so excited about the opportunity to come to the US that they forget to create a budget. They don't calculate what their costs will be, what the cost of living in America is, how their salary will compare to their expenses. Yes, you will earn in dollars, but you'll also spend in dollars. And that means rent, transportation, food, health insurance, and all the documents you need to apply for. You'll most likely need a car, which comes with gas, insurance, and maintenance. If you have young children, daycare can be expensive, especially if they're not in school yet. And also, depending on your visa, your spouse may not even be allowed to work. For example, on the H-1B visa, in most cases, your spouse, your husband or your wife, cannot work legally. On the J-1 visa, however, your spouse can apply for an employment authorization document, which allows them to work. There are teachers who come to the US with big dreams. And I get it, I've been there as well. They want to provide a better life for their families, they want a cultural exchange opportunity, but because they didn't plan financially, they end up in very difficult situations. Remember, in most cases, you're coming from a country where your local currency is devalued compared to the US dollar. If you don't know what your costs will be ahead of time, you can find yourself struggling even though you thought you were moving into a better financial situation. That is why planning is absolutely essential. You need to know, what will my salary be after taxes? How much is housing in the area where I live? What are the typical costs for food, utilities, and transportation? What documents do I need to budget for? What will my family's expenses look like month to month? Inside our mentorship, we dedicate an entire module to this. We guide you step by step through what is life as a teacher in America and what it looks like financially. We show you how to budget realistically, what to expect when you arrive, and how to navigate costs such as applying for a driver's license, buying or leasing a car, finding housing, and enrolling in health insurance. We don't just prepare you for the application. We prepare you for real life in America. That way, when you land here, you're not caught by surprise. You have a plan. You know what to expect. And you can truly enjoy the experience of teaching in the US without unnecessary stress. So what are you waiting for? Sign up by clicking in the link below. Mistake number 5. Don't come without a financial plan. Create a budget, prepare for the realities of life in the US, and make sure your dream doesn't turn into a nightmare. These are all the tips and mistakes we have for you today. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. We post new videos every week with tips and strategies for international teachers who want to teach in the US. And if this video helped you, please give it a like. That way, YouTube shows it to more teachers around the world who need this information. And of course, if you have questions about your specific situation, your qualifications, the visa process, or anything else about becoming a teacher in America, drop your questions in the comments below. We always try to do our best to answer as soon as we can. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.